United Airlines, and she has been a 737 captain for the last 20 years. She is one, I know, yes. She is one of the founders of Airline Employees for Health Freedom, an organization that believes it is your right to request reasonable accommodation in lieu of forced vaccination to maintain your bodily autonomy. What a radical concept Miss Laura here has. Laura puts her energy towards protecting others from experiencing the same discrimination that she did and has testified in favor of multiple medical liberty bills this legislative session. We are so incredibly lucky to have Captain Laura Cox here speaking with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Carrie. I've got my water, Dr. Nanda. It's not my best suit to drink the water I'm supposed to drink, but I got it here. My name's Laura Cox. I know some of the faces out here. It's nice to see you again. And as she said, I'm a captain for United Airlines. Soon to be a 777 captain for United Airlines. I just took a bid. It was accidental, but I guess I'm going. I'm also co-founder of Airline Employees for Health Freedom. Airline Employees for Health Freedom believes you have a right to a reasonable accommodation due to your faith, per Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, or due to your personal medical situation per the Americans with Disabilities Act. We began our fight with United Airlines August 6, 2021, when United CEO Scott Kirby mandated the COVID-19 vaccine for all United employees. Since then, we have used what we learned, and we are helping other employee groups and other airlines to also fight their corporations' mandates. So let's talk about employer mandates. We've talked about the vaccine, we've talked about schools, we've talked about doctors and hospitals and how you're treated. But let's talk about employer mandates. When it first started, and even today, I still get this thing running through my head called the company store. Have you ever heard the song 16 Tons by Merle Travis? Yes. Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? I'm not going to sing for you, I promise. You don't want me to hear that. But there is a line, and it says, "St. Peter, don't you call me, because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store." What does that mean, the company store? You have to go back to the early 1900s, late 1800s, and the coal mines and other employers. The mining companies would pay their employees in scrip, not dollars. And then you could only use that scrip to buy from the company store or pay your rent on the company-provided homes, which were usually not very nice. And the company store never really had what you needed. But the other thing was, you couldn't leave, because you never accumulated any money that you could spend outside of the community where you worked. So you were beholden to that employer for everything. The company owned you. How is that like today's employer vaccine mandates? If most of the companies and governments around the world the last few years had their way, you wouldn't be able to work unless you took the vaccine. You couldn't go just say, well, I'll just leave here and go get another job. Where are you going to go? They all require the vaccine. That was the plan. If you wanted to work, to earn money, to buy housing, food, raise your family, you were going to have to sell your soul to the company store. I quote an article, it's from the Ohio Bureau of Labor Statistics' first annual report from 1878. The state is bound to prevent the unlawful reduction of wages as much as it is bound to prevent the burning of property. To enslave and starve a man, or to drive him by desperation by actions the most uncharitable and unjust, is just as bad as to destroy property. Both should be prevented. One family of poor should be worth more than the world could purchase. But they were going to bankrupt all of us. Many of us at United Airlines were put on unpaid leave. Others were forced into other jobs that didn't pay as much, and they were ostracized and forced to wear what we call the scarlet letter at United, the N95 respirator, instead of just a regular mask like everybody else. Many employers, including United Airlines and Hawaiian, sought to coerce employees by placing them on indefinite unpaid leave if they didn't get the vaccine. Judge James C. Ho, and he's one of my favorite judges, I could read what he writes over and over again. He's in the Fifth Circuit Court, and he opined on our case, Zambrano versus United Airlines, and said it best. For how much would you sell your soul? Because that's where we're at. We're selling our soul. We're selling the very being who we are when we agree to be coerced into taking this shot. So employers would say, well, but it's just a change in your working conditions. Okay, it's like we're going to give you a uniform to wear, or you've got to show up to work at this time of day. Well, it's not. There's another case before the Fifth Circuit, which was recently, they issued a ruling recently for Feds for Medical Freedom, which is the federal contractors lawsuit against Biden. And the court discussed the working conditions at length. So the federal workers actually have a law, the Civil Service Act, which defines what working conditions are. And an en banc panel, which is all the judges in the court, the majority decided and stated that working conditions do not include private, irreversible medical decisions made in consultation with private medical professionals outside the federal workplace. Well, now, shouldn't that apply to those of us in private employment as well? Shouldn't we have those same rights? Getting a vaccine is not something you can take off when you walk out the door of that job, when you go home at night, or when you leave to go to another employer, or when you retire. It's not something you can take out. You cannot do it. It's irreversible and irreparable. So then everybody, the employer's like, safety, it's for safety. Well, this same court also discussed later, talking about OSHA's COVID-19 vaccine mandate and the OSHA claims about occupational safety and health. Workplace safety standards refer to hazards employees face at work, and not the, quote, day-to-day dangers that we all face from crime, pollution, or any number of communicable diseases. Okay, here today, we could be exposed to the flu, chickenpox, measles, mumps, whatever. They're endemic in our society. We're exposed every day. COVID is now endemic in our society. We're exposed every day. It doesn't matter where we go. It's not only at work. It's not like you're flying an airplane and something goes wrong. That's a hazard at work. If you're working in a chemical plant and there's a chemical spill, you're exposed to that. That's a hazard at work. You don't incur that in your normal day-to-day routine. And I think private employers should be treated the same way, and private employees. And I want to tell you that as much as these rulings give me hope for the future, that the courts are actually finally starting to see the point that parents and people like Texans for Vaccine Choice have been making for a long time. We need to be sure that not only are we not subject to these mandates, but that our children aren't going forward. And it doesn't matter whether it's a childhood vaccine or an adult vaccine. You should have the right to informed choice. So last month with Dr. Nanda, Sarah, Jennifer, and others, I sat for 8 hours in the Texas Senate. I couldn't leave. I was afraid to go to the bathroom. I was afraid to go get anything to eat because I didn't know when my turn to speak would be. And I testified on Senate Bill 1024, which includes a section prohibiting employer mandates to COVID-19, and Senate Bill 177 regarding informed consent for COVID-19 vaccines. Now, these bills are very specific for COVID-19, but they're a step in the right direction. We need to get overreaching bills that include all medical procedures. You have the option of informed consent. And if your arm is being twisted, that you can't get a job, that you can't work, you can't go to school, you can't go to the grocery store, you can't travel because of a vaccine, then you are being coerced. Okay? And we're all here, we're all very, very patriotic. I love your poem, Dr. Nanda. Where'd she go?
Right here.
There she is. I love that. I need a copy of that. I need a copy of that.
It's going to be published. I'm writing a book.
Awesome.
A book of poems.
Awesome. I know that Senate Bill 177 was voted out of committee, and so that should be heard on the floor of the Senate. This is the Texas Senate. You guys need to write your senators. Texans for Vaccine Choice has a wonderful website. You can put in your address or link, and you can find out who your senator, who your House representative is here in Texas. And all the bills are up there, and you can write them. But it's really important. It's an amazing thing that we're all doing here today and fighting for our freedom for our children. I urge, as I said, I urge each of you to support them. We need to ban employer vaccine mandates or any kind of drug mandate, okay? My whole point all along has been, not every drug is safe for every person every time. Okay? Maybe you took it today, but the next time you take it, you have a reaction. And maybe that reaction is just, oh, I don't feel good today, and the next day you're fine. Or maybe it cripples you. Or maybe it kills you. Okay? That's why you need informed consent. And that was, you know, you can go back to World War II when that was codified in the Nuremberg rulings and the Helsinki Accord. There are many laws, and our government, our U.S. government actually has signed on to these things. They are members of these accords. They have signed on to them, our health departments, our public health, but they're not following it. So in the end here, the bottom line is, I will not sell my soul to the company store. And I hope none of you will either.
Flora Cox.